I mean, councillors, let's settle down so we can start with our ordinary council sitting. Paul Neft, Councillor Maile, MMC Traku, Mukjongi.
Good morning, councillors. It is hereby notified that the 28th Ordinary Council meeting of the City of Johannesburg Municipality will be held on Thursday, 27th February 2025 at 10 a.m. at the Constance Konibabela Council Chamber in Braamfontein. However, due to some delays caused by the special council meeting, this ordinary meeting will commence at about 11:14. First item on the agenda is open.
Executive Mayor of the City of Johannesburg, Councillor Cllr Morero, in his absentia. Whip of Council, Councillor Nkosipayo Zungu, in his absentia. Chair of Chair, Councillor Vonani Marema, all political party leaders and whips, members of the Mayoral Committee, chairpersons of the Section 79 committees, fellow councillors, Acting City Manager, Mr. Tsepo Makola, Secretary to Council, Mr. Andile Gobinga, officials of the City of Johannesburg, residents of the City of Johannesburg, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to the 28th Ordinary Council meeting of the City of Johannesburg municipalities. Fellow councillors, it has been brought to my attention that many of our councillors may not be aware of the process to be followed should they find themselves in circumstances that may compromise their safety and or when their lives may be in danger. Inasmuch as the process to review the councillor safety policy is still ongoing, the legislature has put in place a process that should be followed in such circumstances. Should any councillor be faced with any threat or danger, they should immediately make contact with the Protocol and Ceremonial Service Unit. They will then, in liaison with the Councillor Affairs Unit, commence with the necessary steps for the intervention that may be required at that time. We all know the details of the protocol team, councillors. I trust this information will be of great assistance to all our councillors, and especially to our different whips of all the caucuses that are represented here. If there's a councillor in your caucus that's in danger, please reach out to the Speaker's office. Furthermore, I would also like to bring to the attention of councillors that all councillors in the city are required to sign a pledge that guides the councillors in performance of duties in the municipality. This pledge is being undertaken by the Integrity Commissioner. To facilitate a smooth process on the signing of the pledges, the Integrity Commissioner shall be visiting the different Section 79 committee sittings to administer the pledge. This shall be done in collaboration with the Office of the Chair of Chair, Councillor Marema, and the different Section 79 chairperson, we request your cooperation in this regard. Lastly, councillors, please be informed that there are activities being embarked upon in taking steps to protect and improve the council presence and the council chambers. In particular, this shall enhance our security measures around the council present. So please do bear with us should any inconvenience be occasioned by the processes and measures being put in place. This is done to make council chambers a conducive and safe working environment for all. Please note a request from the executive to elevate the following items in the order that I am going to read. Item 60, item 56, 56A, 56B, 56C, item 58, item 59, item 57, item 55. There was another request from legislature, and their request is to elevate item 61, which is changes in membership. And the last request is to elevate all three motions. And councillors, I have acceded to this request. We've also been made aware that there is no water. So our team, our protocol team, and our council affairs team is speaking with Johannesburg Water, because Johannesburg Water is saying they never switched the water off. So there should be water here, but we all can attest when we go to the bathroom, there's no water. So that's something they are working on. Thank you, councillors. At this point, I will allow 10 minutes for legal to verify the number of councillors present so as to confirm quorum. Can I only take one between Councillor Christian? Okay, Councillor Christian?
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just two queries.
Okay.
Because you went very quickly. The first one on that pledge, we didn't get clarity on it. Is it the same thing that we signed when we were sworn in as councillors, or is it an addendum to it? And then the second thing is you went through very quickly with what's been elevated, and you were jumping from 50s to 8s to back to 50s. Can you please just give it in chronological so we can make note, please? And if we're doing 16, if that were one of it, shouldn't it be that entire cluster? Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Christians. In regards to the pledges that has been undertaken by the Integrity Commissioner, it's something totally different, but I'm sure the chairperson of the committee that you fall under will be in contact with you. Yes, she'll be in contact with all the different chairpersons. Last week she was with me and the chair of chair. So through the chair of chair's office, they'll be speaking to all the chairpersons. Then you'll get that information. Number two, let me go through the list again, councillors. I'll try to be a bit slow. From the executive items that will be elevated, I'll start with item 60. That's the first one. After that, it's item 56. And 56 includes 56A, 56B, and 56C. After that, we'll go to item 58, then item 59, then item 57, then the last one from the executive, it's item 55. That's the executive list, right? Then from legislature, it's only one item, which is the changes in membership, which is item 61. And the three motions. And as I've said, I've acceded to the request. Councillors, it's 11:19. Councillor, you can come in. Councillor Niemand?
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. I just need to put it on record. I got a serious concern what you mentioned about the Integrity Commissioner. That function does not fall within her terms of reference currently, and I want it on record. The Integrity Commissioner has got a terms of reference, set out what the Integrity can and cannot do. And if for the person that's currently occupying that position, I have a serious problem with it, nor has this been discussed in the Ethics Committee. And the ethics committee is the one that must task the integrity commissioner. So I think we're putting the cart in front of the horse here. So just for the record to look at. Thank you very much.
Noted, Councillor Niemand will look at it as well. Councillors, it's 11:20. Legal, is 10 minutes enough? Okay, the EFF is outside. I think they'll be back after 10 minutes. Council will resume at 11:30, councillors. Councillors, let's settle down so we can resume with our council sitting. Genevieve. Please note that there are 211 councillors present. As a result, there is quorum and the meeting will continue. When it comes to the voting for the adjustment budget, we'll do a body count to make sure our numbers balance.
Councillors, we move to application for leave of absence.
Councillor Boo and Councillor, is it Libatlang? It's Genevieve, Councillor Genevieve. I'll start with Councillor Boo and then I'll note you afterwards, Councillor. Councillor Boo.
Môre Speaker, môre raadslede. Raadslid De Lange is siek vandag. Hallo, asseblief.
Noted, Councillor Boo. Action essay.
Morning, Speaker. Following LOAs for action essay are Ayanda and Councillor Ayanda, maternity leave, Councillor Liebenberg, ill health, Councillor Ntombela and Councillor Lebatlang have requested to leave at 5 o'clock if we are not done. Councillor Shumba asked to be excused at 1 o'clock, but will come back. And then Councillor Bini, I'm not sure if he's arrived, but he did book for a later arrival. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mohapi, followed by Councillor Avan Smith.
Thank you, Speaker. Same councillors, Councillor Mulife, ill health, and Councillor Mulala, maternity leave. 2 councillors absent.
Councillor Avan Smith.
Thank you, Speaker. We have Councillor Dews on private business, Councillor Nkunwania on ill health, Councillor Faris Shaw on maternity leave, and Councillor Truluck recovering from an operation. Late arrivals will be Councillor Shaw and Councillor Rambani. Thank you.
Noted, Councillor. Councillor Makuba, followed by Councillor Simonse.
Thank you, Speaker. For the AFP, Councillor Kanyile will leave at 4 if we're not done.
Noted, Councillor. Councillor Simonse.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. MMC Kunene will be leaving by 4 if we are not done. Thank you.
Noted, Councillor. Councillor Mukome, followed by Councillor Dami.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm in convalescence. I'd like to make a request to leave immediately after making my presentation.
At what time, Councillor?
I'll shoulder on until that moment comes that I deliver my presentation.
Hi, I'm tempted to ask where you are going, Councillor, but it's fine, Councillor Dami.
Speaker, yesterday I consulted the doctor.
It's fine, Councillor, it's
Yes.
fine. I'm just pulling your leg there.
Thank you, Speaker. From ANC Caucus, about MMC Squaler, ill health. Chief Whip of Council, Councillor Zungu, family bereavement. Councillor Cambridge Kopeng, ill health. Councillor Maluleka, family responsibility. Councillor Lunga, ill health. Councillor Matawel arrived late. Councillor Zandile Mtupi arrived late. Councillor Pitando, if we're not done by 3 p.m., he'll leave. Councillor Libon, due to ill health. Chair of Chairs by 7, will leave if we're not done. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. We also received 2 apologies from ACDP, Councillor Harris due to party commitments and Councillor Nkonza due to party commitments. Can we approve the apologies as submitted? Thank you, councillors.
We now move to official official notices.
Executive Mayor, Councillor S. Morero.
I decided to stand here today for the opening remarks, Speaker, or statements by the Mayor. I thought I should make these statements today, considering also that is the day of our budget adjustment. Greetings, Madam Speaker, and greetings to the Chief Whip of Council in absentia, Councillor Zungu, the chairs of chairs, Councillor Marema, and greetings to all whips of parties, fellow councillors, and also to the executive team, we also greet you. And we hope that you are continuing with the work that you are doing in terms of law, bylaw enforcement in the inner city, and generally in Johannesburg. And of course, to the people of Johannesburg, Madam Speaker, I thought it is important to say it's only 7 months since you took this hot seat. And indeed, these are hot seats. As we continue to sit on this hot seat, we must reflect on why we are here and what are we doing and how are we changing lives. Recently, my mind is preoccupied with the number 5.8. And what does this number mean to us? 5.8 million is the total number of residents living in the city of Johannesburg. This number counted by stats, it's counted by the Stats SA. If you take a step back for a second and reimagine this number differently, you could be lucky, it could be our lucky number. What would it mean for a city like Johannesburg? It would mean roughly 5.2 million people in Johannesburg live in formal dwellings. It could mean roughly 5.7 million people live in Johannesburg, have access to water. Roughly 5.46 million people in Johannesburg have access to electricity. Roughly 5.4 million people in Johannesburg have access to sanitation services. Roughly 5.25 million people in Johannesburg and services. And the last two items deals with monitor the management of the municipal administration in accordance with the directions of the municipal council, oversee the provision of reflect and reimagine our pathway in order to make a difference in the lives of the 5.8 million people or residents we serve. The Auditor General reminds us that we are a growing city. Therefore, we must be mindful that we need to put in place infrastructure that responds to a growing population. Furthermore, she draws our attention to non-technical losses which are due to theft and bypassing of meters, illegal recalibration of meters, damaged meters, faulty voltage and current transformers, billing errors, and customers without meters. This challenge is hampering our growth. Today, as we make critical decisions such as stabilizing our governance, we must ensure that we improve our relationship with the 5.8 million residents who live and work and play in the city of Johannesburg. All of us have experienced water, electricity, roads, and waste management challenges. And these challenges are hampering our relationship with our communities. Every day is a service delivery battlefield, but this battle we are going to win because it is us who declared that this city is a world-class African city, and it is us who can make it a world-class African city of the future. Every day we are on the ground fixing our infrastructure and ensuring that bylaw enforcements take place. Every councillor in this council chamber must find themselves on the ground talking to the same residents who elected them and telling them, let's work together to make our city great. Recently, I reported that Joburg Water has been observing and monitoring significant progress on overall recovery of water system that was impacted by the recent past events, which included power failures and that affected pumping capacity to many Joburg reservoirs and towers. These incidents led to further impact and reduction of our systems, where reservoirs and towers were critically low and in some instances empty and reduced the rate of recovery. Technical interventions by both Rand Water and Johannesburg Water technical teams are working hard to contribute efforts to progressively realize recovery and improve the affected reservoirs and towers in order to boost supply and sustain capacity. We are at this point having achieved at least just over 90% of supply after the interventions that we're able to do. If you are listening, please call us and tell us how we can help you. And this is what the message we are sending to the residents of Johannesburg. As we help you, please tell us who can also help the city of Johannesburg. Our strategic priorities as set out in our IDP remain. For the remaining months, we are channeling our energies to the following issues. Ensure our financial sustainability pathway remains the cornerstone for operational success. Accelerate service delivery reforms to improve citizen satisfaction. Enhance our safety measures through data-driven, resource optimized. As the executive leadership of the city, we put it in place an integrated service delivery war room, whose primary objective is to improve the coordination and effectiveness of service delivery across Johannesburg's regions through an integrated operational approach. Already we are starting to see real-time monitoring. We're already seeing rapid response activation. We are already seeing cross-entity coordination. We're already seeing strategic oversight. We're also seeing data-driven decision-making, performance management, and citizen-centric service delivery. We have seen this in the last 2 weeks as our efforts to ramp up service delivery and bylaw enforcement. Furthermore, we have reached out to all sectors to help us reimagine the city. From government, we have reached out to the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency President Ramaphosa. I am pleased to inform Council that he responded positively to my letter, and next week will be visiting the city so that we can work together and change the city of Johannesburg street by street until we get it right. The private sector has also responded positively, and I want to thank leaders of the banking, in the banking sector, property sector, and also most importantly, the taxi sector for raising their hands and voices in a quest to rebuild the city of Johannesburg. Josie My Josie has also pledged their support and commitment towards the city, and already good progress is being made. Unsafe spaces are going to become safe. Dirty places are now getting cleaned. By activating the creative industry, we are now reimagining Johannesburg into a place where 5.8 million people will live in peace. As we perform our duties today, we must be mindful of the G20 and the U20, which is here. Kinako, this is a first for Africa. Allow me to remind you, we are a city of first. We must show the world that solidarity, equality, and sustainable development means. As the host city for the G20 and U20, the shoulders of Africa rest on us. Our G20 presidency, supported by U20 events, presents us with an opportunity to showcase our city. Most importantly, to create jobs in the city of Johannesburg. All of us, we must play our part. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we must not be afraid to perform our duties. 5.8 is a large number. As public representatives of 5.8 million, we must keep them in our thoughts before we speak. We must protect them from all that hampers their growth. This is our city, and we cannot be bullied by those who destroy our infrastructure. We cannot be bullied by those who refuse to follow the laws of this city. We cannot be bullied by those who have outsourced the responsibilities as outlined in our Bill of Rights. This is all we have, so let us make it work together. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Executive Mayor.
Councillors, we proceed with confirmation of minutes, and they are as follows. It's the 5th Special Council meeting held on the 30th of January 2025. Also, the minutes of the 27th Ordinary meeting held on the 30th of January 2025. And lastly, the minutes of the 35th Extraordinary meeting held on the 21st of February 2025.
Councillor Echozonjoko. Is it fine? Okay. Councillors, is there a councillor that wants to add anything to the minutes? Or can we confirm the minutes as they are? Because I don't see hands. So councillors, are the minutes confirmed? Thank you.
We proceed with item 5, and those are questions for written reply, of which notice has been given in terms of Rule 105, subsection 2 of the Standing Rules and Orders of Council.
Executive Mayor, Councillor S. Movero.
Or they have been loaded, Madam Speaker, on the drive.
Thank you, Executive Mayor.
We now proceed to recommendations to Council.
I'll start with the Executive Mayor to table the executive reports.
Thank you, Speaker. I hereby table the reports of the executive to Council for consideration and approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Mayor, Chair of Chair, Councillor Marema, for the legislative reports.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I hereby rise to table the legislature report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair of Chair.
Councillors, we start off with elevated items, starting off with item
MMC Masuku.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, Executive Mayor and fellow councillors. On behalf of the Executive, we'd like to withdraw item 52, amendment of the development lease agreement in respect of ERF 56.
Thanks, 52. 52. MMC, it's only 52. It's only 52. Okay. Noted, MMC.
Councillors, we're starting off with item 60, and that is commencement of a recruitment process for the position of the city manager.
Councillor Libatlang, before we open the debate, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you very much, Speaker. As you know that we are dealing with a serious report that deals with the accounting officer of the city of Johannesburg. Therefore, we are requesting as a caucus that we have a 15 to 20 minutes caucus break so that we can deliberate on this particular item. Thank you very much.
Councillor Libatlang, it's 11:55. We'll resume at 12:10. So I'm giving you exactly 15 minutes, councillors. Councillor Christians?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, while I appreciate you ringing the bells,
Yeah.
the bells are only ringing in here and ringing in our ears. Those who are caucusing outside do not hear it. If you could soften it here and make it louder outside, we'll really appreciate it. Our old ears are really getting hurt. Thank you.
Yeah, my own ears as well, Councillor Christians. I concur with you there. Chief Whip of Action SA, you asked for a caucus break. Please report. Yes, we gave you enough time and you decided to extend the caucus break. Granted.
Speaker, apologies. Now we have deliberated and we are back to proceed business of the day. Thank you.
Councillors, we resume on item 60, which is the commencement of the recruitment process for the position of the city manager.
The first speaker on the list is from Freedom Front Press, Councillor Boer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning to you and our councillors and all protocols reserved. I raise on item 60.3 the commencement of the recruitment process for the new city manager. We as a Freedom Front support this item. We have to appoint a city manager as it is one of the, well, probably the most crucial function in the city. But we want to make a commitment on this one, that in terms of Regulation 12, the interview panel consists either of 3 persons or 5 persons. And I think we suggest that we make this interview panel a panel of 5 persons. It is such a crucial position in the city that we add 2 more experts from outside the city to appoint the most suitable person possible. And there's also one thing that the executive does not adhere to, that the composition of the panel is a councillor designated by municipal council. It's not a councillor designated by the mayor or by the MMC of Group and Corporate Services. This councillor must be designated by the municipal council in order to have an objective and a complete panel. So our suggestion would be that we change recommendation 3 to, because recommendation 3 is very vague at the moment. It says the panel will either be consisting of at least 3 and not more than 5 members. I think we must change that recommendation to be 5 members, and then that council appoint a councillor to sit on that panel as well. But Madam Speaker, this Municipal System Act does not only have a section 54, it also has got a section 56. And section 56 applies to appointment of managers directly responsible to the municipal manager. And it says in section 56(1), a municipal council, after consultation with the municipal manager, must appoint a manager directly accountable to the municipal manager or an acting manager directly accountable to the municipal manager. And we believe through the grapevines and through social media that executive has appointed an acting chief operational officer in the name of Mthembu. This decision was apparently made by the executive of the Mayoral Committee. It was never served on council. It didn't even came back to council for ratification, although council was not in recess. And the mayor said we must hold the executive accountable. And we want to start with that and say we have to stay with the rules, and the appointment of Mthembu was illegal, and it has to be done by council. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors, can I ask that when a speaker is on the floor, that we limit our movement? We can wait until the speaker is done, then we can come in. And I've also been advised that can we keep the doors closed so that the aircon can be effective. DA, Councillor Hopper.
Good day, Speaker. I rise to speak on item 60 regarding the commencement of the recruitment process for the city manager, all protocol observed. Speaker, French sociologist Emile Durkheim wrote about the process of structuration, whereby the structures of society or an organization are created and developed by people's agency, their free will and decision-making powers. But ultimately, one's agency is impacted upon and influenced by the structures that are created to control, define, and direct. This process of the structures influencing agentic powers and simultaneously people's agency defining and redefining the structures of society and organizations is called structuration. In the city of Johannesburg, we struggle with both. Due to a lack of political will and a lack of structured management and accountable performance management, many municipal employees lack clear management structures or have little say over decision-making, and employees don't have the agency to suggest new ideas or challenge their senior peers or the political executive. There's no solid and assertive interface between politicians and residents and the employees required to undertake the wishes of the electorate and the elected political executive. The most senior mediator, negotiator, stakeholder mapper, and decision maker is seemingly missing from the city's administration. Plans and programs are forced onto departments, directorates, and entities without planning around how to fund and support these interventions and initiatives. Unfortunately, many employees do not have clearly defined scorecards and individually measured clear key performance areas or accountability mechanisms. There is a complete failure of leadership over senior directors and municipal entities, especially the entities. The political structure imposed through a flailing and fumbling coalition feels threatened by strong leaders who may challenge or disrupt their plans, whether those plans are well-intentioned, poorly thought out, or seemingly dodgy. Speaker, Johannesburg cannot afford another city manager appointed to serve political interests rather than the residents. That is why this recruitment process must follow the correct legal and procedural framework. We must remind the residents and the media that the South Gauteng High Court ruled that the appointment of the last city manager was declared unconstitutional, unlawful, and invalid and was set aside. And the court also ruled that, that Section 59 of the Municipal Systems Act was breached in this unlawful appointment. Speaker, the famous lawyer representing the city in this regard admitted that it was justified that the DA should be awarded costs if the case to rescind the previous decisions was won. Well, the DA, the party of good governance, fought for accountability and won and was awarded costs of the case. Speaker, Johannesburg needs a city manager with the skills, experience, and independence to restore good governance. The new CM, as we colloquially may call him or her, should strictly adhere to and be hired based on the limitations of the Municipal Systems Act, which defines the powers, functions, and the required expertise for the role. Additionally, this Municipal Structures Act, which also plays a significant role by guiding the new city manager's role within the broader municipal governance framework. What the city needs is a city manager that regularly receives local awards from the government, from the province, pertaining to good governance, like the town manager and DA run Midvaal, or a city manager that is the recipient of numerous international awards pertaining to performance management and fiscal responsibility, like the DA run Cape Town's city manager. The new CM needs to review unfunded mandates, fix insolvent and mismanaged entities like Joburg Water, the Joburg Roads Agency, City Power, and the Joburg Development Agency. They need to undertake an organizational redesign project and fix the functions under his or her office that are currently understaffed, underfunded, and undersupported when it comes to the systems and technology they require. Johannesburg deserves an experienced, educated, and independent-minded senior public servant who will implement best practice to start providing basic service delivery to all residents. We do support the commencement of this recruitment and hiring process, but we demand that it is conducted fairly, transparently, and in line with the highest governance standards as we see in DA-led towns and cities across the country. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hopper. UTM, Councillor Zikere, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Executive Mayor, members of the Executive, Chief Whip of Council in absentia, Chair of Chairs, Section 79 Committee, Chairs, fellow councillors, Secretary to Council, ACM, CFO, guests and people of Johannesburg. I rise on behalf of the UDM and the MGP in the government of local unity. Madam Speaker, the matter before us holds profound implications for the integrity, stability, and the future governance of our city, as the appointment of a city manager is not only a legislative obligation, but a strategic necessity in ensuring the delivery of quality services to our communities. The vacancy of the city manager position follows the decision of the High Court, which declared the previous appointment invalid. This ruling, while unfortunate, reaffirms our commitment to upholding the rule of law and respecting the judgments of our courts. Consequently, the position has been vacant, and the city must now act decisively to fill this critical post. The process of appointing a city manager is governed by legislation, along with regulations that ensure uniformity and compliance across municipalities. As the JLU, we have anchored our governance agenda on the principle of good governance. This principle demands transparency, accountability, and meritocracy in the recruitment and appointment of our senior managers. The recommencement of the recruitment process is not merely a bureaucratic exercise, but a demonstration of our unwavering commitment to clean and ethical governance. We are resolute in ensuring that the recruitment process is competence-based, transparent, and free from political manipulation. We fully support the proposed recruitment process, which includes the position will be advertised nationally to attract a broad pool of qualified candidates. The panel will comprise 5 members, the executive mayor as chairperson, 1 councillor designated by the council, and 3 independent external experts with the requisite skills and expertise and experience. Councillor Boer, that's where you're getting, I think now you'll be fine in that because it's recommendation 3A, B, and C. All shortlisted candidates will undergo rigorous competence assessments to ensure that they meet prescribed technical and leadership standards. The entire process will be subjected to scrutiny and ensure compliance. We acknowledge that the invalidation of the previous appointment was partly due to non-compliance with regulations on the composition of the selection panel. We are committed to following due process without deviation. Honorable Speaker, the journey to building a capable and developmental local government requires that we put the interests of our residents first. The appointment of a qualified, competent, and ethical city manager will be a cornerstone of our administration's legacy. Let this process mark a new chapter in the governance of our city, a chapter defined by transparency, a chapter defined by fairness and meritocracy. We remain steadfast in its commitment to deliver on the mandate entrusted by us, by the people of entrusted to us by the people of
10
Johannesburg.
seconds remaining.
I call upon all members of this council to support the recommendations before us so that we may proceed with the recruitment process without delay for the benefit of our communities and the advancement of our city. Let us not play into the gallery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. IFP, Councillor Mangai.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, councillors and distinguished guests, the Macheroni. Speaker, I stand before you with great humility as we come together to strengthen the leadership of the city of Johannesburg. The IFP is committed to building a future defined by integrity, progress, and responsible governance. The matter at hand, the commencement of the recruitment process of the position of the city manager, is not just a procedural task, but a vital commitment to good governance, transparency, and service delivery for our residents. Speaker, while we acknowledge the challenges of the past, including the High Court's ruling that declared the appointment of the former city manager invalid, we must also recognize this moment as an opportunity to rebuild trust, refine our processes, and select a leader who will uphold the highest standard of integrity and leadership. Speaker, today marks the beginning of a renewed process. Our goal is clear: to recruit a city manager with expertise, vision, and dedication needed to steer our city forward. There's no doubt that this process ahead will be guided by transparency and accountability. The IFP applauded the decision to advertise this crucial position nationally, ensuring that we attract a wild and talented pool of candidates. Let me emphasize, Speaker, this process is not merely about filling a vacancy. It is about securing a future. It is about choosing a city manager who will not only bring technical expertise, but will champion service, innovation, and inclusivity. I urge all members of this council, Speaker, and the public to support this process wholeheartedly. Let us work together constructively to ensure that a best candidate emerges. No one will drive the one that will drive progress and inspire confidence in the administration of Johannesburg. It is crucial that as the city, we reaffirm our dedication to good governance and appoint a city manager who will work tirelessly to build a more efficient and transparent and responsible administration. Ndedibuwa, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Mangai. Action SA, Councillor Chuma.
Thank you, Speaker. Nshawata Terikulo Jawatsamba Dorobankul Johannesburg. As Action SA, the party that believes in professionalism, we are looking forward and support the commencement of recruitment of the city manager. Thank you so much, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Chuma. ATM, Councillor Magwenju.
Speaker kancane nje icishile lento yami le ngicela nje just a second, Speaker, or udlulele komunye uma ngabe Speaker evuma then ngilandele emva kwakhe.
No problem, Councillor Magwenju. Tingiye ku EFF, Councillor Ngwenya.
Speaker, greetings to yourself. Greetings to the leadership of EFF, the city of Johannesburg, especially Resolute, as well as our loving Chief Whip, Tabisa Mkhad. So, Speaker, on this council, what we then have to acknowledge is that a standard of recruitment has been set before us. And that standard that has been set before us, if maybe we seem to have forgotten, let's just go back and read our documents. It's a panel of 5. It can always, we've never had a panel of 3 or anything of that nature. So as a result, Speaker, we are then asking as EFF to then say, let us then stick to that standard. Let us not now, all of a Thursday, bring wishful thinking or wishful wishes of having something else that is out of order, speak of ours. And this is the, and also what we can then not afford to have going forward is this thing of this council to be taken to courts by DA as if we are a government of local unity that is so incompetent. And the picture that we are painting, it's a picture that, the picture that we are painting here when we are taken to court, Leo Malengane, no matter 20 rand, Madam Speaker, is the man that is needed somewhere else. A Cosmos City today is Yakala, low 20 rand. With that being said, Speaker, we are humbly requesting as EFF that we follow the already set standard of 5 And as EFF, I see Chigi, I see anywhere, we are proving the panel of 5 from the EFF perspective. Thank you so much. Love and speak.
So, Siyabonga Councillor Ngwenya, we'll go back to ATM. Councillor Magwenchu, so lungile manje.
Ngiyabonga Speaker, sekuhle konke Speaker. Speaker, as the ATM, we are pleased to see this report serving in council today and are in support. The position of city manager is very critical and central to any government that is committed to service delivery and overall running of the city. When this council was to approve a report on the acting city manager, we implored on the executive mayor to move with speed and urgency towards ensuring a permanent appointment of a city manager, as the city cannot manage to keep this critical and integral position on an acting capacity. We view this report to be an answer to our pleas. We again plead with the executive mayor to ensure that this process is finalized within the next 2 months. Speaker, this is doable and will lead to confidence in the administrative affairs of the city. There can be no delay in the delivery of services to the residents of Johannesburg. Stability in the upper echelons of the city will lead to a sustainable delivery of services to the public. The promises made through State of the City address and to be made during the budget speech depend on the smooth administration of the city, in which the city manager position is central to be filled. Speaker, the city recently received an unqualified audit opinion with material findings. Only 2 entities received a clean audit, which is Joburg City Theatres and Joburg Market. The first step to ensuring a clean audit in this financial year is to appoint the accounting officer, which is the city manager. I'm saying this, Speaker, from experience. As you would surely recall, I was once an MMC, and for 2 years in a row, one of my entities received a clean audit as we ensured stability through the appointment of the CEO, Ms. Kolison Dvinengema, and CFO, Vukani Makubane. Speaker, the core challenge that has brought us to where we are right now had nothing to do with adherence to the laws, but was meant to divert the government of local unities' attention from what matters the most, delivery of services and improvement of people's lives. Speaker, as the ATM, we trust that again, our plea to move with speed in finalizing this process will not fall on deaf ears. Speaker, the decision to opt for 3 experts outside the city speaks volume of the executive mayor's commitment to ensure that this process will deliver to the city the best city manager. Peace in our land, peace in our lifetime. We support the item.
Thank you, Councillor Magwenchu. ANC, Councillor Nguse.
Oh, my person. Speaker, let me not waste time. Let me rise on the established protocol by the previous speakers. I think, Speaker, it is very unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation. Nevertheless, Speaker, once the courts has spoken, ours is to rally behind the decision of the courts and move along as law-abiding residents of the city of Johannesburg. I think the reality, Speaker, is we are in need of a stable city of Johannesburg. And we are calling individuals with executive powers to make sure that they fast-track the process. And we are also appealing that the process must be concluded in a record time. We really do not want to find ourselves this process being politicized, but we strongly believe that we do have capable individuals to take over That's the position of the city manager in the city of Johannesburg. We are calling for a smooth process with high level of integrity. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. The last speaker before we proceed to the MMC is MMC Kunene from the PA.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Let me greet you, the Executive Mayor, MMCs, councillors of Government of Local Unity. Madam Speaker, the DA has no moral authority to speak about good governance. I was there when the DA tried to appoint ACM illegally through corrupt processes, and they had to withdraw that candidate. Hence, Floyd Brink became the city manager, as he was number 2. The High Court did not question the integrity of the qualifications of Floyd Brink. The High Court did not question the process, the executive process. The High Court dealt with the process from programming to council. That's what the court dealt with. So we cannot sit here and be told that we engaged in a corrupt process when the masters of corruption, I withdraw.
Councillor Kunene, let me, please hold on. Let me take a hand from Councillor Echizonjoku.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to call a point of order on Councillor Kunene. The court has ruled on this matter. We are dealing with the recruitment of a recruitment process, and I would like him to withdraw unless he have proof that is proven by the court about corrupt processes of appointing an acting or a city manager previously. He must provide that court processes and the proof in this council chamber or withdraw.
Councillor Kunene.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Councillor Boer asked a question, and I want to answer that question as to who becomes the councillor that forms part of the 5 who must sit there. Madam Speaker, naturally, the MMC responsible for human resources becomes one of the panelists with the executive mayor and the 3 experts. Even when the DA was engaged in a process similar to this one, it was the MMC responsible for human resource who sat with the executive mayor and experts in that particular interview. I see there's another point of order.
Please wait. Let me recognize Councillor Christians.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise in terms of Rule 72 in terms of the process. At 12:44, Councillor Echizonjoku rose on a point of order. There was no ruling made on it. Can we please get a ruling whether the Speaker will be withdrawing or not? And the second thing is on a point of clarity. Councillor Boo is not part of the DA, so he's responding to
Councillor
the DA
Christian,
to a Freedom Front councillor. Thank
Councillor
you.
Christian. Before Councillor Kunene stops speaking, to hand over to Councillor Echizonjoku. He did withdraw. And I think the whole House heard that. He did withdraw. Councillor Kunene, you may continue.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I cannot be confused whether Councillor Boer is a DA or an FF+. Councillor Boer is very sober, so I cannot mistake him to where he belongs. The FF+ is very sober. So I never said that he is a DA member. Madam Speaker, as I said, even when the DA was under the same process, MMC responsible for human resource sat in the panel. I think it was MMC Cllr, who has since left us. So, Madam Speaker, I just wanted to put that and clarify that. The process that we are about to start will be above board.
20 seconds remaining.
Will be above board, unlike the one that was done by the other guys on the other side in 2023. Salute. Ons paisani.
Thank you, Councillor Kunene, and we'll hand over to the MMC, who will wrap it up for us.
Good morning, once again, Madam Speaker. Good morning, afternoon, Executive Mayor, fellow councillors, and members of the Mayoral Committee. Councillors are correct, Madam Speaker, Councillor Burr, on Regulation 12. Your matter has been addressed, Councillor Burr, in Recommendation 3, your concern, because Recommendation 3C does say that it will be those three aspects, meaning it will be the expert, the Executive Mayor, and the councillor that will be designated by the municipal council. So it will be 5. So your concern is addressed as you raise the issue of transparency and making sure that there's the panel that will accommodate more people to have a view on the critical appointment. So that is attended to. I think I'm concerned with the point you made through you, Speaker. Councillor Burr says he has heard through the grapevine and so forth and so forth. But we know the executive always brings the report for acting arrangements for senior managers, and that report is due for council in March. So we've always done it, and it is the city manager can actually do an appointment of a section 56, and then it comes to council. So it will address your concern about a rectification process that has to come. That report is due for council in March, as we always do bring it quarterly to indicate acting arrangements. So that report is coming through for that particular council meeting. And then Councillor Zigebe, thank you for your input, and Councillor Manganye, and of course Councillor Ngwenya, thank you as well, and for the compliments, my section 79 councillor, Councillor Magwenchu. We will endeavor to push the process. It is not entirely up to us to make sure it is within 2 months, and I will explain why. There are processes that have to be undertaken. There are processes, we don't know the people who will be shortlisted. We don't know which candidates will need to go for vetting, for competency assessment. We're not in control of how long the competency assessment process takes, because it is legislated and it is outsourced. It's not done internally. So the competency assessment, it is an independent process outside the city of Joburg, and we have to make sure we do that properly. Then there's also the vetting process, which also we utilize state institutions to assist us. It is also an independent process once there is a shortlisting that has already been conducted. So we will endeavor, but we do have dependencies because of the 2 processes that I have indicated. But our intention is not to deliberately drag any recruitment process. And I think our commitment has been clear from the start when we came in as the government of local unity, that we intend to stabilize senior management. And I think we have proven our commitment in that particular regard. And I think we are very clear, good governance is part and parcel of our commitments as the government of local unity. We are the first people to have implemented the work of the disciplinary board, particularly because of that particular commitment that we made. We're steadfast on that, and we are not going to backtrack in terms of holding officials accountable. I'm not going to dwell on the points that Councillor Hooper raised, because it was a campaign slogan, and I think we're here to recruit, start a recruitment process, and we are not here to campaign. And thank you to all the councillors who have supported this particular report. Thank you very much. We ask Council to approve the report. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, MMC. Councillors, Councillor Pu, I hope you're not responding.
Madam Speaker, I have to respond. Give me
But
one
the
opportunity.
debate is closed by the MMC.
But the recommendations are not clear.
Councillor Pu, you cannot respond after the MMC has spoken. Councillors, the recommendations are on page 60.8 is the item agreed to. The yeses have it.
Councillors, we proceed with item 56, and that is the adjustment budget.
Sorry, Secretary of Council, Councillor Pu.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, but please note the freedom from dissent on this item, not because you are against it, but because the recommendation was not changed. Thank you.
Your dissent has been noted. Secretary of Council, you can continue.
Item 56 is the 2024-25 adjustment budget and related documentation, read together with item 56A, which is an operating budget, adjustment budget for the 2024-25 financial year, and also read together with item 56B, which is a capital adjustment budget for the 2024-25 financial year, and lastly read with item 56C, which is the funding plan for medium-term capital budget.
The first speaker is from Freedom Front Plus, Councillor Pu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to rise on all those items. I've got very limited time. I want to take us back 2 years ago when the then MMC of Finance, our current executive mayor, asked us to help to steer the ship of Johannesburg into the right direction and into calmer waters. And we all agreed to assist to make this city a world-class city again. Last year, we had a budget adjustment and we said this cannot be. The budget adjustment last year resulted that we, on our Auditor General report, had irregular expenditure of more than 4 billion because we underestimated our costs to Eskom, and also irregular expenditure of underestimating bad debt impairments of more than 2 billion. This adjustment budget is going exactly the same route. We are budgeting for extra electricity income of 1.2 billion, and I think that is realistic. Load shedding is more or less gone. We should reach that target of getting 1.2 billion rand more income from electricity sales. But on the other hand, we said we adjusted our bulk purchases for electricity only by 500,000. And that is not realistic. We cannot increase our income by 1.2 billion and only increase our cost by 500,000. But it would have been nice if we got such a big margin on electricity. The biggest adjustment, however, was on debt impairment. Again, we don't have information, and it seems the executive is doing this deliberately so that he can't fulfill an oversight role on the city's finances. But based on the first quarter report that will serve on council today, we have missed all our targets of revenue collection. So we are behind our targets, but nevertheless, we reduced our debt impairment by 1.3 billion, which we did last year as well, just to end up to have an over expenditure of 2 billion there. This looks like window dressing. Our original budget had a surplus, an operational surplus of 700 million. This is now been increased to 2.1 billion. But even the 2.1 billion, even if it materializes, is not enough. Page 73 of the report says the risk is that we do not achieve those figures. But if we do achieve them, of the 2.1 billion, we have to fund 1.22 billion on capex funding. We have to fund 800 million into our sinking fund to enable us to do a debt repayment next year. So those two figures alone are 2 billion. Then we haven't even started repaying off our current debt. So even the adjusted budget is not funded. Doing the capital budget, that was increased from 7.4 billion to 7.7 billion. Got an extra 247 million, which I desperately need. And of that 247 million, 123 million is going to be to replace obsolete energy meters, which is a critical function in the city, because our problem is not expenses, our problem is revenue collection. And to replace those obsolete energy meters, that is a very positive sign in the right direction. Our red fleet was decreased from 100 million to 28 million. This red fleet we're talking about for 3 years, which we desperately need, that was reduced. 72 million rand was taken away from there, and that was given to Gautraund Rental Development. One of the motions of the Action SA today, Gautraund Rental Development got an extra 88 million to refurbish those deliberated facilities there. And we do not agree with that. Our red fleet is very important to all of our residents. And then all of these things needs to be funded, and that is where item 56C comes in. We cannot keep on incurring debt at huge cost, and then recommendation 4 says if the city gets downgraded again, we give the city manager the authority to negotiate the higher interest rate that we are going to pay on our debt. We are getting into a debt trap, just as national government is. Our way out of this financial mess is to go and collect money from people that owe us, to remove illegal connections, to remove and punish the people tampering with meters, to reduce our water losses, create revenue, then our budget will balance. Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Freedom Front will not support this budget.
Thank you, Councillor Paul. DA, Councillor Santana.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise to speak on item 56, 56A, 56B, the 2024-2025 operating adjustment budget, capital budget, and the funding plan for the medium-term capital budget. It's becoming abundantly clear that the ANC, EFF, PA, and Action SA coalition government is either unable or unwilling to engage openly and transparently with other political parties in this council. Instead of fostering collaboration in the best interests of the forgotten residents and neglected ratepayers of Johannesburg, they continue to operate behind closed doors, making unilateral decisions that fail to address the city's dire financial situation. Empty words will not fix Johannesburg. Bold actions and responsible financial management will. Once again, councillors are expected to rubber stamp this adjustment budget without having access to the essential second quarter performance reports or the Section 71 in-year monthly management performance reports. These reports are crucial for analysing and evaluating whether the proposed adjustments are reasonable and sustainable and in line with sound financial management principles. Furthermore, it's business as usual for this administration, where secrecy and mismanagement prevail instead of transparency and accountability. Madam Speaker, a quick perusal of the adjustment operating expenditure budget reveals key highlights of the report. An increase in the budget revenue of 1.2 billion, a decrease in expenditure of 257.8 million. My dyslexia is playing out. A projected surplus of 2.2 billion before capital grants and contributions. However, this report raises significant concerns about the sustainability of these revenue improvements and the high risk of over-expenditure on employee-related costs. Most alarming is the projected surplus of 5.9 billion after taxation, capital grants, and contributions is unrealistic and misleading. This administration is selling an illusion of financial stability while failing to address the city's deepening financial crisis. Madam Speaker, turning to the adjusted capital expenditure, we note disturbing patterns of the budget cuts in critical areas, including reservoirs and water towers, sewer mains, and the purchase of new buses for Metro Bus. This reckless reduction will have severe consequences for residents. Cutting funds for water infrastructure threatens supply reliability, reducing sewer maintenance will worsen sanitation issues, and delaying investment in public transport will leave commuters stranded. This government is playing a dangerous game, choosing short-term cost-cutting over long-term infrastructure sustainability. Madam Speaker, we finally get to the funding plan of the medium-term capital budget. The report outlines the city's objective to raise substantial external borrowings amounting to 2.5 billion in the 24-25 financial year, 2.7 billion in the 24-25 year, 2.5 billion in the 25-26 year, 3 billion in the 26-27 year. One of the most crucial aspects of this plan is pushing for alternative funding sources and off-sheet balance sheet mechanisms, including private sector investment, climate finance initiatives, and public-private partnerships. On paper, these innovative financial strategies could help reduce the city's weighted average cost of capital and maintain the gear ratio below 45. However, this report fails to address Johannesburg's deep operational inefficiencies, including hemorrhaging of funds due to water and electricity losses, escalating costs that are outpacing revenue collection, regulatory constraints that will make securing alternative funding difficult. How does this administration expect to convince the private sector investors to partner with a city that can't even pay its own creditors in time? How can we trust their ability to manage the new borrowings when the lack of record shows a complete inability to manage existing funds? Madam Speaker, the Democratic Alliance remains steadfast in commitment to transparency, accountability, responsible finance governance. We believe that the residents and the ratepayers of Johannesburg deserve a government that prioritizes the needs and ensures efficient use of public funds. But this budget is built on shaky foundations. It's a numbers game that does not reflect the reality on the ground. The DA cannot in good conscience support this adjustment in its current form. This budget is not the budget for the people. This budget is designed to protect the failures of an administration that is running Johannesburg. We reject it. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillors have been advised that we do have water now. UTM, Councillor Zikebe.
Madam Speaker, today we are at a critical juncture in the governance of the City of Johannesburg. The 2024-25 adjustment budget before us is not just an exercise in financial planning. It reflects our commitment to responsible governance, financial stability, and most importantly, service delivery to our people. As the UDM and the MGP within the local government of unity, we engage in this debate with a dual responsibility to support this budget as a tool to address the city's most pressing needs, to ensure that it is implemented effectively, transparently, and in a manner that serves all Johannesburg residents. Our task today is clear: to move beyond rhetoric, beyond blame games, and to advance real solutions for the challenges we face. Madam Speaker, it is encouraging to note that the revenue collection has improved with an increase of 1.2 billion, and that the projected budget surplus has grown from 700 million to 2.16 billion. This demonstrates that we are making strides in improving the financial management of the city. However, there are areas of serious concern. The city's liabilities have increased by 7.1 billion, largely due to long-term borrowing. Cash reserves have declined by 1.35 billion, raising liquidity concerns. While borrowing is an essential tool for financial capital projects, we cannot allow debt to spiral out of control. If we do not act decisively now, we risk placing an undue financial burden on future administrations and, more importantly, on the residents of Johannesburg. We will not then sit idly by and allow Johannesburg's debt to grow unchecked. We have to act now. First, we need to expand revenue streams beyond traditional sources like service charges and property rates. We will have to strengthen the city's revenue collection mechanisms by implementing smart metering systems that prevent revenue leakage and ensure accurate billing for electricity, water, and other municipal services. We will intensify the fight against illegal connections and non-payment, ensuring that those who benefit from the city's services contribute to their sustainability. The city will not engage in reckless borrowing. Instead, we will tie every loan to a tangible return on investment, whether it be improved infrastructure, enhanced service delivery, or economic stimulation. We have to prioritize grants and lower cost financing options before resorting to high interest borrowing. This means eliminating wasteful expenditure, ensuring that every rand allocated in this budget is spent efficiently and effectively. The days of unmonitored spending should be over and are over. We will demand quarterly financial reports as a norm from each department, ensuring that funds are utilized for their intended purposes on time and without waste. By implementing these measures, Madam Speaker, we are not only stabilizing the city's finances, but also securing Johannesburg's economic future. Madam Speaker, while this budget makes critical adjustments to sustain basic service delivery, some sectoral budget reductions raise concerns. We welcome the additional 1.3 billion allocated to electricity and water services, which will ensure that Johannesburg's residents have uninterrupted access to these basic necessities. However, the budget reduces funding for transport infrastructure, economic development, and environmental services. These cuts, if not managed properly, could have negative long-term consequences for residents and business alike. We cannot allow transport projects to stall or economic development to be placed on the back burner. We must act decisively as this government. We have to reprioritize funds through efficiency measures, ensuring that essential road and transport projects are not stalled. Instead of relying solely on municipal funding, we have to mobilize the private sector through the PPPs to secure private investment in critical transport infrastructure projects. By leveraging private sector funding, we will ensure that Johannesburg's roads and public transport systems are maintained and expanded without overburdening the city's budget. We will not accept a scenario where Johannesburg's economic future is compromised due to budget constraints. A dedicated economic recovery task team has to be established to identify key
30
growth
seconds
areas,
remaining.
don't I have 6 minutes? Attract new investment and support small businesses. We must actively support township economy initiatives, ensuring that local businesses thrive, jobs are created, and economic activity is sustained. We have to ensure that the environmental services are protected from excessive budget reductions by introducing cost-effective and innovative waste management programs. Partnering with community organizations will enhance recycling initiatives and waste reduction strategies, ensuring that budget constraints do not compromise urban cleanliness and environmental sustainability. By taking bold and decisive actions, we will ensure that the service delivery remains a top priority and that Johannesburg continues to develop a world-class African city. Madam Speaker, it is not enough to allocate funds. We must ensure that these funds are spent wisely, efficiently, and with full accountability. In previous years, we have seen instances where budget allocations did not translate into real service delivery improvements. That cannot happen again. Every municipal department needs to submit spending and service delivery reports that are not cut and paste to oversight committees to ensure that funds are being utilized effectively. We have to empower local communities to monitor the delivery of budgeted projects through ward-based oversight teams. This will ensure that service delivery commitments are met and that residents have a direct role in holding the city accountable. We will actively enforce spending discipline across all municipal entities, ensuring that every expenditure is justified and contributes to service delivery. The days of frivolous spending and financial
Councillor Zikere,
mismanagement
your time
are
is up.
over. Hey, got like I.
6 minutes, not a lot, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Zikebe. We'll move to Councillor Cook from the Good Party.
Madam Speaker, it is no secret that our city is on the brink of bankruptcy, and while the adjustment budget appears to have been creatively crafted to paint a pretty picture and attempt to install confidence, reality is it's plagued with issues. Speaker, on the operating adjustment budget for 2024-2025, Good notes that the budget assumes a reduction in debt impairment by 1.3 billion rand. Based on projected revenue collection improvements. Our concern is that if these projections do not materialize, which they consistently haven't in the past, the city risks falling into further financial distress. There is also an over-reliance on internal transfers, which have increased by 1.4 billion rand. This does not necessarily reflect real revenue growth, but rather a reallocation of existing funds. This may mask underlying financial instability. Speaker, Johannesburg residents have been failed multiple times by this council. In the eyes of our residents, service delivery has completely collapsed across Johannesburg. However, the adjustments prioritize administrative and salary expenses over direct service delivery. With limited additional funding for key infrastructure projects, residents may continue to experience challenges in water, electricity, waste management, and road maintenance. Service delivery has to become the top priority of this council. Furthermore, the city's current creditor payment ratio remains below 1:1, meaning it is unable to pay creditors within 30 days. Without concrete financial recovery plans, this could erode supplier confidence and service delivery efficiency. The budget explicitly states that it is not intended to address additional funding needs, forcing departments and entities to reprioritize within existing allocations. This could further hinder urgent service delivery interventions. We also note the increase in bulk electricity purchases by 500 million rand, which despite ongoing non-technical losses, suggests inefficiencies in the city's revenue management. The budget assumes a reduction in electricity losses from 29.07 to 28%, which may be overly optimistic given the past performance. Regarding the capital adjustment budget for the 2024-2025 financial year, the capital budget has been increased by 318.6 million rand, yet there is no clear justification for how these additional funds will address critical service delivery backlogs. The budget should prioritize urgent infrastructure development over administrative adjustments. Speaker, the budget allocates 92.8 million to the energy efficient program. Significant reductions have been made in essential infrastructure projects, such as the refurbishment of substations, emergency transmission work, and bulk electricity infrastructure. This raises concerns about whether the city's immediate power supply challenges are even being addressed by the council. There is also a notable reduction in public safety funding. The capital allocation for public safety has been cut by 8.4 million rand, with JMPD losing 5.5 million and emergency management services losing 2.9 million rand. Reducing investment in law enforcement and emergency response infrastructure is very concerning, Speaker, especially in a city facing rising crime rates and disaster risks constantly. Good notes with regrets, cuts to the critical housing projects. The human settlements budget was adjusted with significant reductions in various housing projects, including the formalization of informal settlements, which lost 165 million rand, hostel redevelopment projects, which lost 5 million each for multiple locations, bulk infrastructure and new housing developments lost 35.5 million rand for the Eichenhof substation and other areas. These cuts undermine efforts to provide sustainable housing solutions for vulnerable communities. Furthermore, the budget cuts funding for major water and sewage replacement projects, such as the Soweto planned water main replacement, will lose 6.5 million rand, while Orange Farm sewer mains will lose 6.6 million, and the halfway house water upgrade will lose 76 million rand. Given the city's history of water shortages and infrastructure failures, these reductions could negatively impact service delivery. Speaker, there is also a failure to address public transport shortcomings. The adjustments show 80.7 million rand in cuts to the BRT Phase 1C roadways, and 27.3 million has been removed from the Selby bus depot. These reductions contradict the city's commitments to expanding public transport and reducing the reliance on private vehicles. In conclusion, Speaker, Good believes that the adjustment budget does not do enough to address the pressing issues which affect the residents of Johannesburg daily. We are unable to support the adjusted budget in its current form.
Makos.
Thank you, Councillor Cook. Action SA, Councillor Nkonyen.
Greetings, Speaker. Greetings to councillors of this council. Greetings to our visitors in the gallery, and most importantly, the residents of the city of Johannesburg. Speaker, Action SA rejects this anti-poor adjustment budget. While the budget includes several welcomed initiatives to support community development, Action SA's primary concern remains the 230 electricity surcharge imposed on residents since 2024. Our rejection of the budget today demonstrates our commitment to anchoring our engagements with other parties, whether at national, provincial, or local level, firmly in the best interests of South Africans. When any government takes actions that contradict these principles, Action SA will be first and most vocal. When Action SA took up its role in the legislative arm of the city of Johannesburg, we made it clear that we would vote on issue-by-issue basis, with key priorities being the removal of Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda at the time, the scrapping of the electricity surcharge, and a reinvigorated service delivery program. Following Councillor Gwamanda's removal, his successor, Councillor Dada Morero, committed to at least lowering the surcharge to more affordable levels. Regrettably, this budget does not accommodate that commitment. The failure to scrap or reduce the surcharge will only worsen the already dire living conditions of residents, particularly in marginalized areas. On the 25th of July, 2024, Councillor Morero said, calls, and I quote, calls by residents and all affected parties for the city to review the 200 rand charge due to tough and impactful economic challenges in the city has not fallen on deaf ears. The GLU commits to reviewing this charge while noting the importance of infrastructure maintenance and upgrades, including the cost of supply studies by the city, by City Power, close quote. While the budget includes some positive initiatives, such as addressing the Kai Sands landfill debacle, passing it with the charge would be a betrayal of the Johannesburg residents. Action SA can also provide meaningful relief to those who continue to endure harsh socio-economic conditions. Importantly, Action SA engaged in robust efforts to reverse the surcharge, including direct communication with the executive. However, the executive chose to ignore all the submissions we presented, despite them being made in the best interests of residents. As a solution-oriented party, Action SA would like to remind the executive and bring to the attention of the residents the following recommendations. To ensure financial stability while alleviating the economic, the Action SA caucus urged that, number one, gradual reduction of the fixed charge. We need to reduce the fixed charge from 230 to 150, 24-25 adjustment budget with a roadmap for further years. This phased approach balances consumer relief with revenue and with revenue sustainability. Point number two, revenue offsetting through improved, currently writes off 7.34 billion in bad debts annually. By improving revenue collection by just 5%, an additional 360 million can be recovered to partially offset fixed charge reductions. Point number three, cost-cutting measures to absorb revenue loss. Implement immediate 5 to 10% cuts in the following areas: contracted services, prioritizing security, IT, and maintenance will save us 368 million. Operational costs, to reduce administrative overheads, travel, catering, and office expenses. This will save us 671 million. Municipal entities, reduce excessive funding to underperforming entities such as JPC, which is of note. This can save us 582 million. political office overheads, cut VIP security and discretionary spending on non-essential areas. This can save us 150 million. These combined efficiency measures could free up 2.35 billion, covering a significant portion of the lost revenue from reducing the fixed charge. Number 4, alternative tariff adjustments for fair cost recovery. Introducing a sliding scale approach where indigent and low-income households pay a lower fixed charge while high consumption users contribute proportionally. Ensure that any tariff adjustments do not disproportionately impact the poorest residents. Number 5, reallocation of non-essential expenditure. Suspend unnecessary allocations such as Joburg Tourism's 98 million budget and the poorly performing JPC, and redirect funds towards stabilizing energy cost for residents. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the current fixed charge is regressive and disproportionately affects those who cannot or those that cannot afford. Given the commitments made to review and reduce this charge, it is imperative that these proposed adjustments be incorporated in the adjustment budget before it is passed here in this council. Action SA cannot stand by in such circumstances and will always oppose any item in council that does not prioritize the residents of the city of Johannesburg. At the same time, we are fully prepared to support any item that places the best interests of the resident first. Mthembu.
Thank you, Councillor. EFF, Councillor Ntlapo.
Greetings to the Speaker, the EFF caucus, and all councillors. I rise on item 56. The EFF knows the following assumptions on which the 2024-25 operating adjustment budget is based. While it's noting the improved revenue collection initiatives, which also resulted in decreased impairment of debts, EFF is of the view that more can still be done. The potential risk identified. It is quite critical that the following be implemented: risk mitigation, strategies against the identified and any emerging risks threatening the operating adjusted budget. Risk mitigation strategies against the identified and any emerging risks threatening the operating adjusted budget be clearly crafted, implemented, and monitored monthly. Revenue and expenditure budgetary controls be monitored continually, and a review be done whether any negative findings by both internal audit and Auditor General have been corrected, or clear action plans are being monitored. The accounting officer must issue corporate efficiency measures to ensure that there is no over expenditure on the adjusted budget at a year end. This by no means absolving the various departments and entities on implementing own initiatives on the efficiency, saving measures, accountability, efficiency, saving measures, accountability, and consequence management. On 56B, the EFF supports the 2024-2025 financial year operating adjustment budget. The capital adjustment budget for the year 2020-24 financial year. The EFF knows the capital adjustment budget, which is a mere listing of increase and decrease across departments and entities. There is no clear informative analysis of what informs the listed increases and decreases on all the capital projects, save one or two line items. No high-level risks are indicated for either increases or decreases in capital projects. The Council is expected not to engage on this extremely critical aspect of the COJ budget, but to merely endorse increase and decrease capital budget lists. The causes of these increases and decreases only known to the drafters of the report. There should be clear evaluation of capital projects, their performance and management that should inform projections to the next half of the financial year, including impact over the medium term. Contrary to the operating adjustment budget, there is nothing, Honorable Speaker, to engage on regarding the capital adjustment budget. As the EFF, we reject this budget. EFF requests that proper high-level reasons or contributions to increases and decreases be tabled before council. On C, funding plan for medium-term capital budget for the year 2024 and 2025. Long-term borrowing, the raising of the budgeted external long-term borrowing of 2.7 billion and 2.5 billion and 3 billion for the 2024.
Councillors, sorry, Councillor Mthembu. Councillor Mthembu is still on the floor, please. Let's respect her. Sorry, Councillor Mthembu, one, two beggars.
The raising of the budgeted external long-term borrowing of 2.7 billion, 2.5 billion, and 3 billion for the 2024 to 25, 25 to 26, and 2026 to 27 is supported and where relevant as modified in recommendations hereunder. The raising of the approved budget borrowing or revised budget as may arise of bilateral loans from any or combination of the following financial institutions: Absa Bank, First National, and other institutions. And also on short term, the EFF supports on request that the council authorizes the city manager to sign and execute the all long and short term debt agreement and related payments only for agreement approved by council. The EFF approves the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Mthembu. ANC Councillor Khateb. Councillor Mthembu, please switch off your mic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Inzima lendlela. Speaker, greetings to you, the Executive Mayor, members of the Mayoral Committee, councillors, the caucus of the African National Congress, residents of Johannesburg. Madam Speaker, I rise on item 56A, B, and C, which is the adjustment budget for operational adjustment budget, capital adjustment budget, and the funding plan for the midterm capital budget. That is for the financial year 2024-2025. I'd like to first indicate that as the African National Congress, we support the budget, but with serious concerns. These proposed budgets are a blueprint for the City of Johannesburg's continued growth, service delivery, and financial sustainability. The proposed operational adjustment budget reflects on the prudent and responsible approach to managing the city's finances. It ensures that we continue to deliver essential services to our residents while maintaining fiscal discipline. The adjustment budgets are made in line with the midterm year performance assessment, ensuring that we address revenue shortfalls and reallocate resources where necessary. Madam Speaker, as much as we are hearing other political parties rejecting this particular budget, I think we also have to first indicate or point out the positives of this budget. Number one, this budget maintains a surplus of 2.1 billion, which is a testament to our commitment to financial sustainability. Revenue enhancement, particularly in electricity and waste management. It demonstrates our ability to adapt to changing circumstances and improve collection rates. The budget also prioritizes critical areas such as public safety, infrastructure maintenance, community development, and ensuring service delivery remains top priority. But there are also risks, particularly in the operational budget. Number one, revenue collection risk. If revenue collection shortfalls, it could strain our ability to meet expenditure commitments. It also indicates the employee-related costs. Over expenditure in this area remains a concern, particularly with the current over expenditure of about 1.1 billion. But Madam Speaker, as much as we as the African National Congress approve and also support and we've raised certain risks and possible, so we want to also indicate possible solutions, particularly in the operational expenditure budget, that we would like to strengthen collection initiatives, particularly in areas like electricity, property rates, and we ensure that we meet our targets. Implement stricter expenditure controls, particularly in employee-related costs, and ensure departments adhere to the 2% natural attrition rate. On the capital budget, Madam Speaker, the capital adjustment budget is a critical component to our long-term vision for the city. It focuses on infrastructure development, which is essential to economic growth, job creation, and improve quality life in the life of our residents. The proposed adjustment budget ensures that we prioritize projects that will deliver the most valuable commitments. As much as we are also acutely aware that there are serious capital projects that have been cut off, but we also believe that there are positives. The budget includes significant investment in transport infrastructure, such as the Rea Vaya BRT system, which is an improvement in public transport and reduces congestion. The projects like the Joburg library upgrades, the new community development centers demonstrates our commitment to social development and community empowerment. The budget also allocates funds for energy efficiency program, which reduce our reliance on Eskom and promote sustainable energy. But equally, on the capital adjustment budget, there are certain risks that we have noted. The delay in project implementation could lead to cost overrun and missed deadlines. The funding gap, some projects may face funding shortfalls in external grants if external grants or loans are not secured. Madam Speaker, we've always been advocates that a new funding plan needs to be developed. We need to find ways of sourcing out money, particularly to fund our capital expenditure. The funding plan the funding plan is a forward-looking strategy to ensure that we have necessary resources to finance our capital projects and maintain financial sustainability. It diversifies our funding resources, reduces our cost in borrowing, and explores innovative funding mechanisms. The plan includes long-term borrowing and in competitive rates, which will fund critical infrastructure program without overburdening the city finances. We need to ensure that we use alternative funding mechanisms such as climate finance, in terms of issuing the green bonds, and also using the public-private partnerships to demonstrate our commitment in innovation and sustainability. The establishment of infrastructure investment fund for trading entities will ensure that we reinvent our infrastructure, particularly water and electricity, which is critical. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the adjustment budget and the funding plan are essential tools that will guide the city through the next financial year and beyond. They reflect our commitment to good governance, financial sustainability, and service delivery. While there are risks and with the financial plan, but we have identified mitigating strategies to address these challenges. By approving the budget and the funding plan, we are taking a decisive step towards building a city that is resilient, inclusive, and prosperous. Madam Speaker, I also have to indicate that as we were deliberating as the caucus on this particular budget speech, we went through robust debates, which pointed out a number of gaps that we identified, particularly on projects that are supposed to benefit our communities. But for the progress of the city and also our responsibility to govern the city in a prudent manner, we then, as the African National Congress, decided to support this particular budget. And we also implore other parties to support the budget. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, councillors. The whips of all the different political parties, please start calling back all your councillors to be in the chamber. When we start voting, if you are not in your seat, you will not participate in that process. MMC Arnold.
Apologies, Speaker. I'm just opening up my tangiki. Okay, there we go. Sorry, Madam Speaker. No, we didn't. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon to the Executive Mayor. Good afternoon to all MMCs, and good afternoon to all chairpersons of Section 79 committees. Good afternoon to the MGP, and good afternoon to all opposition political parties, and afternoon to everybody in the gallery. Madam Speaker, before I start with my actual speech, let me start with engaging some of the comments made by political parties. Freedom Front Plus, energy efficiency and also decrease on the non-technical losses. This is where we are looking at saving on bulk purchases. You will see that there's a decrease on the non-technical losses for energy. We agree with the war on electricity and water losses, fully agreed, and that's why we're allocating budget to them. To the DA, we are increasing budget of city power and Joburg water in the adjustment budget, and also in the medium term. This is in line with the National Treasury trading reforms. All the steps you outlined are already being implemented, Councillor Sandana. We know exactly what we are doing. Action essay. The electricity surcharge is being charged by metros in this country as a necessary step to ensuring parity with all our residents. The poor are protected through the ESP packages, which is now also being enhanced, so more of our poor can apply. Cape Town actually has a higher service charge. Getting back to my speech, Madam Speaker, I'm being intimidated by Councillor Belinda Esten John. In putting together this adjustment budget, we've had to factor in all aspects that affect our financial performance to strengthen the city's financial position. This meant that we did not fund all the requests submitted for additional funding. We had to do this to ensure that we are increasing our cash reserve. To ensure financial sustainability in the future and to ensure sufficient cash to fund repairs and maintenance and infrastructure refurbishment. On a very positive note, we have not had to rebase the adjustment budget this year, as was the case in the past few years. This was because we have seen an improvement in our revenue billing. If anybody wants to see what we are getting in on a daily basis, we can share with you. This has performed mostly in line with the budget for the first half of the year. Our electricity rates revenue service charges was able to realize additional billing of over 500 million in the first half of the year due to 6% increase in units consumed, supported by a sustained period of no load shedding. We remain hopeful that Eskom will be able to contain load shedding. Our property rates revenue has also enjoyed the effect of positive outcomes in the valuation appeals, which supports the additional 350 million property rates revenue included in this adjustment budget. Madam Speaker, I would like to plead with some of our councillors that are saying we are not collecting enough to please also pay their bills so that we can collect. However, there's a lot of that are owing. I can name and share right now. However, despite the improvements we have seen, there are historical financial pressure we need to address. In the last few weeks, efforts have been stepped up through the financial sustainability sessions led by the acting city manager. You are doing very well. That, among other things, have focused on process re-engineering within the revenue value chain to ensure improved accountability and efficiency. System upgrades and in order to ensure tightening of controls and reporting of exceptions, billing query resolutions, expenditure management that eliminates weight and optical use of limited resources. To this end, we have put a stretch collection target of an additional 2% above the budgeted collection rate in this adjustment budget. The additional income has not been tied to expenditure to enable this anticipated inflow will go towards rebuilding the city working capital and cash reserves for investment in future assets. We have instructed management to drive internal efficiencies to ensure expenditure remains within the limits set in this budget for approval by council. Failure to abide to these limits will result in increased unauthorized expenditure, which we do not want. We can turn this funding position around, but we need a collective effort. Councillors, we need to play our part in educating our constituencies and ourselves on the importance of paying for services for the city of Johannesburg. Madam Speaker, I therefore table the adjustment budget for 2024-2025 for approval by this House. I thank you.
Thank you, MMC Arnold. Councillors, Councillor Dami. Councillor Dami.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we are requesting 1 hour caucus. Speaker, we want to speak with other parties in this 1 hour caucus.
Councillors,
1 hour.
Thank you. Councillors, I have not even responded. Councillor Christian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you made a ruling prior that once we have started speaking, you were not going to be allowing. So are we now going to go back on that, or are we simply proceeding? Because, Madam Speaker, just one more thing. The caucus break that he's asked for is not a caucus break. She asked for them to go and negotiate, which is something completely different. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Christians. Councillors, I'm going to consult with legal, so we carry on, so I make a decision or a ruling. Councillor Dami, the precedent has been set. Once the debate has been opened, we have to continue with the item. So please make sure, as I've said, that all the councillors are inside the house so we can start voting. Already, I've set that precedent in this house, unfortunately, councillors. Councillors, there's no rule, but we're talking about the precedents that I've set. There is no rule, but I'm talking about the precedents that I've set. So, Councillor Rapaldu, please, Chairperson, may we not go back and forth on this? I'm gonna. Okay, you can come in, Councillor Rapaldu, while I'm going through something with legal.
Speaker, we need to differentiate. The debate is done. We're not interceding in the middle of the debate. The debate is done. So what you've, Speaker.
Councillors, please allow him to speak.
Speaker, when, and I concur with you, when we are in the middle of a debate, there can't be any breaks that are taken. But now the debate is done. That's why Councillor Dame is standing up to say, in the meantime, can we have a caucus, an hour caucus, so that we can finalize this thing? The debate is done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Rapadu. Councillors, when we look at the interpretation of the rules, we look at 6.1, the presiding officer must give a ruling, right? And we go to 2B, the established practices of the council. That's what I was talking about, the precedents that I've set. And remember, councillors, one of our MMCs asked for this item to be elevated. We're going to touch on it towards the end of the day, but elevation was asked. So I think we should continue. Councillors, we'll start with item 56A. The recommendations are on page.
Speaker, at the back, Ahmad.
Before Councillor Ahmad, you come in and MMC announce, I have made a ruling. Do you want to debate on the ruling? Because I have made a ruling, councillors.
I'm not debating, Speaker.
You can stand, Councillor Ahmad.
Thank you, Speaker. The precedents that we've set, every time when we have critical items, we would check the quorum first before voting. Thank you, Speaker. That's a precedence.
Okay. Councillor Ahmad, yes, when we start with our voting, that is the process. They agree with you, my council. I agree with you, Chairperson. MMC, then after MMC, I'm not accepting any more hands, councillors.
Thank you for the opportunity, Speaker. Speaker, I agree with what Councillor Ahmed is saying, but I just can't go back and give you the date and the council meeting where you yourself set the precedence of us after we have debated that we are able to call for a caucus. You yourself have set that precedence. When I was Speaker, I set the precedence in between the debate. But when you set the precedence,
She was the speaker. Our MMC announce, but you were the speaker. I was just sitting with the caucus there at the back. You were the presiding officer and you set your precedence.
Speaker,
that
allow us
was
to
your
go to
precedence, my
caucus.
MMC, that you said.
Speaker,
Councillors,
allow us
let's
to
settle
go to
down.
caucus.
Let's settle down.
Speaker,
Councillor Nimak,
allow
I
us
said
to go to
after
caucus.
MMC, that's it. I said after MMC, that's it. Councillors, 56A, operating adjustment budget for the city of Johannesburg. The recommendation are on page 56A.25. Is the item agreed to? Okay. Then we'll start with the voting. Legal, are you gonna do a body count? Are you gonna do a body count? Okay, please remain seated. Yes, we're trying to confirm a quorum 3 body count. So please remain seated, councillors. Councillor Christians, I'm not going to accept any hands, otherwise it's going to be chaotic. I'm not going to accept any hands, it's going to be chaotic. Let legal start. Their counting is. Guys.
Speaker. Speaker.
Protocol, please ring the
Speaker.
bell for the councillors to come in.
Speaker. Speaker. Speaker.
Ahmad, I didn't allow Councillor Christians to come in, so please, I'm not going to allow your hand. All right, councillors are moving around, so we'll start voting. All those in favor of this item, which is item 56A, please raise your hands. Then we count. I'll repeat, councillors, this is for item 56A. The recommendation are on pages 56A.25. All those in favor of this item, please raise your hands. Legal will be counting. Councillors, this is the ruling. I am going to adjourn the meeting because of grave disorder. Because of grave disorder from our councillors, the meeting is adjourned.